Welcome to another episode of SENSE-sational Customer Experiences. This is the show where we explore the idea that everything your customer knows about you is a direct result of input from their five senses. It's what they see, hear, taste, smell, and touch that determines how much they love you. And now here's your host and consumer experience expert, Wes Miller.
I myself had a sensational customer experience this week. I went to the store to buy gift cards. Typically in the past, I've always found gift cards, that it's the plastic card, usually attached to some paper. But this year, I discovered something new, and in fact, I've posted some pictures on my Instagram page. That's SENSE-sational Experiences on Instagram. You can go check it out. There are companies now that have turned their gift card packaging into games. One was a spinner game, and one was a dice game that came with the gift cards. Go check it out on our Instagram page. You'll see pictures of that. And I thought, what an interesting way to tap into the sensory experience of customers. Not just giving them a plastic card, but attaching it to something of meaning, in this case, a game. And it made me wonder, how can I package my product? How can I package my service in a way that's different from just what everybody else is doing? I'll throw that challenge out to you. What can you do to differentiate yourself from what everybody else is doing? Are you just one of many doing the same old thing, or can you do something different? That's your challenge for a sensational customer experience this week. I'm excited this week to be joined by a guest. He is someone I've known for a number of years, and in knowing him, I've known about his professional expertise and his professional excellence in the work that he does. And I knew that he was someone I wanted to have on this program because I knew he would be able to provide value and information to you, the listener. I'm joined today by Jim Villela, who is an expert in billboards. This past year, I went to see 3 billboards outside of someplace in Missouri, and I thought, I've got to get Jim on this show because he'll be able to talk about billboards and maybe even mention something about that movie. By the way, did you see the movie?
I did. It was one of my favorite movies of last year.
Okay.
and not just because of the title.
And so the obvious question to get us started, did she do it right?
She actually did. She actually did do it right. I ultimately, when it comes to outdoor advertising, it's about getting attention and people not being able to tune out the message as they're driving by. In that sense, she did what's called a connected 3 billboards message that ultimately all ties in together. I think it was, in that sense, a great illustration of the power of what's called a retro medium in this digital universe that we're in. And the constancy and still the vibrancy of that retro medium has not diminished in our very advanced, complex, crowded digital world. So she did a great job.
The first thing I want to know is, how did you get into this? Or planned destiny, or was it a fluke?
No, you know what? I had worked at one of the TV stations here in town for several years, but that was on the production side of the industry. From there, I was putting myself through school. I was a major in communications and marketing. I knew I didn't want to stay in the production end of the spectrum. So I segued towards an administrative position at another local TV station. And then I only stayed a short time there. And then from there, I moved to an ad agency. I guess my plan all along was to be as well-rounded as possible and be as multifaceted in my perspective on the communications industry as a whole. At the ad agency, I learned the marketing side, the media buying side, the account services side. From there, I realized that ultimately my passion was going to be doing something in sales, doing something in marketing, but on the sales end, because my personality kind of gravitates towards that end where I am one of those uniquely odd people where I really enjoy engaging with a large spectrum of people. I get energy from that. I actually really do enjoy meeting different types of personalities and asking them questions about their biographies and their history and their stories. So from there, I segued into a small outdoor bus shelter advertising company. Some manager took a chance on me, even though I had no media sales background experience, and I was in my late 20s. You could kind of say the rest is history, because that bus shelter outdoor advertising company eventually got bought out by the company I work for now, which is Lamar Outdoor Advertising. And that's a national company in over 40 states all throughout the country, and on an international level as well.
I love that story. It reminds me a little bit of my own story when you talk about someone took a chance on you. That's what happened to me many, many years ago. Okay, not maybe that many, but but a few years ago, someone took a chance on me, and it changed my life forever,
Yes.
putting me down a path that I had never dreamed or envisioned that I would get to be on.
Yes.
Well, let's get back to this idea about marketing and billboards. And I've been very excited and very anxious to talk with you, because there's so many questions I have. Certainly, the billboard medium has changed tremendously just in the last 5-10 years. It used to be that billboards were this one dimension. I don't know if it's wood or what they were, but they were painted vinyl.
Well, actually, they were painted before.
Okay, and nowadays, if you see those are very like old school. What I'm seeing now everywhere are these like big, huge TV screens.
Yes.
And I'm sure that's not the term you use for it, but to me, the person that's just looking on, it looks like a big TV screen up there now that changes and shifts from one message to the next and can incorporate many messages.
The advent of this really started back around 2007. Around that timeline, 2007, 2008, the technology had gotten to the point where some of these major outdoor billboard companies could now really construct these huge digital screens made up of hundreds and hundreds of tiny little pixels that would create a really visually pleasing image up on a giant billboard screen. We took it to the next level, where we said, why don't we actually provide the client with the ability to target specific geographic areas and have the ability for them to have multiple locations within their digital billboard campaign. So that was kind of the start of a whole different level of a reality for us to be able to reach multiple audiences in multiple different ways. And we could talk about just how advanced these digital screens became up until from 2007 to what is capable now.
I'm sitting in front of the right person who has tons of experience on how this is done. So, tell me, you share your wisdom.
Well, one of the things that even a lot of our very well-established outdoor advertising clients don't even know, or maybe we also don't do a sufficient enough job to inform them, is that these digital boards are actually very smart. They're very intelligent in the sense that they have technologies placed within them that can actually detect when there are different patterns in the weather. With that,
wait a minute. You're saying that the billboard has some kind of sensors?
Yes.
So that it knows when it's raining?
Yes.
Or
when it's reached a certain
really
temperature?
Hot?
Yes. Or when it's very cold?
Wow.
Yes.
So how does that work? I mean, why would an advertiser want to capitalize on, the temperature or whether it's raining or not? What's the benefit?
Well, the benefit to the advertiser is that they could actually, what we call, the term is called weather trigger. And what that weather trigger can do, if it's something that's pre-planned by the advertising client, they can actually have the billboard automatically, reflexively change their advertising copy to make it customized towards what's happening outside in the weather system at that moment. So, for instance, if you own a car wash, you can actually your advertising copy can actually switch to something that is going to customize their message to target people to make sure to remind them that their cars are getting dirty right now.
So wait a minute, let me see if I get this. So, because one of the things that I know I see from the car wash where I go is that wash your car. If it rains in 48 hours, bring it back. We'll wash it again for free.
Yes.
So that message could be incorporated into a billboard ad.
Yep. One of the campaigns that actually is incredibly impactful in the sense that literally these billboards are out there that could save lives. I worked with the Clark County Regional Flood Control System, and one of the campaigns they've done via our digital billboards for the last 3 years is that once a flash flood alert is issued by the weather.
Is that like those messages like "Don't drown, turn around"?
Exactly.
So what I hear say like, don't drown, turn around in the middle of June when it's hot would mean nothing to me. But say a month later in July when the monsoons are here and it's actually raining, that's when I need to be seeing that and being reminded of that.
So at that moment, the ad agency who I worked with that handled that account, they actually provided us in advance advertising creative designs that were to be scheduled immediately when a weather alert is issued. So those digital billboards are actually placed for the next 24 to 48 hours.
So let me see if I can understand this. So you're even saying that the billboard would know where it was raining the hardest and where it might be most likely to flood, so that those billboards in those specific areas might actually pull up that "Don't drown, turn around" message
to warn
versus
people.
A part, because sometimes it'll be raining on one side of town and the other side like is completely dry. So I don't want that message over on the dry side of town. I would want that message where it's actually raining, and these billboards are smart enough to be able to do that. That is that's amazing. That's a wow. and that really fits in when we think about sensational customer experiences. I mean, it's tapping in to my sensory experience. In this case, it's raining, and I need the message of keeping myself safe.
And it goes back to also one of your original points where you said, we used to actually paint the ad copy on the billboards. Not that long ago, back in the late 70s and early 80s, that was the standard process by which you got advertising copy on a billboard. Then in the late 80s and 90s, we started producing flex vinyls. And that technology, in terms of these giant machines that produced these 14 by 48 or whatever their size were, flex vinyls, those only got faster and quicker. The ability to produce them only got, the entire process was much quicker, the turnaround time. Now, with the advancement of digital technology, we went as an industry, the billboard advertising industry, from being the slowest turnaround to being the quickest turnaround. Literally, you can have an advertiser call me in and have their approved art ready. They sign a contract for even as short as a 3-day campaign. Send us the artwork, pay by credit card via a portal in advance for their campaign, scan and send over the contract. And within a couple of hours, we can have that campaign out in the streets. Sometimes literally within less than 2.
So let me run this by you. I remember, so again, going back to old school, that if you wanted to rent a billboard, you had to rent it for a month or a pretty significant amount of time. Are you saying that now with this new technology, even smaller businesses could get in on the billboard opportunity because they could have as few as 3 days?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, believe it or not, people have proposals put on digital billboards, wedding proposals for 24 hours. You can surprise someone with a happy birthday message. You can promote that your child just graduated from high school or college.
Are there people that really do that?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and we get those kind of calls.
And I guess they could actually specify, I want the billboard at this location.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, so it really is a dynamic, immediate turnaround medium that if you want the old school where it's a flex vinyl and you have that board all to yourself, you can do that. But you can also have the flexibility and the immediacy of a digital message up on that board. And when it comes to digital outdoor, there are no production costs. So you can change your message as you see fit. And there's clients that run the spectrum from old school, I like my board the way where it's that message is on that board for 24 hours, and that's only my message, or clients that don't mind sharing their advertising spots and messages with multiple other advertisers on a digital billboard.
So there's lots of options.
There's a lot of options.
I heard you say that there's low production cost. So that, of course, I want to know, What is the production? Do I have to have computer skills to create my design for the image on the billboard? Or do you provide that? Or how does that work?
Well, no. I mean, you know what? We work with direct clients, and we have an art director on staff that doesn't cost anything additional to the direct client. We have that luxury that we have a full staff of people that can actually put together the design concept for clients. We also work with very well-established ad agencies here in town who take care of that aspect of the entire campaign as well. So it just depends.
So that brings up a question that I have from the sensational customer experience standpoint. And as you know, sensational, we spell SENSE, sational, and it's all about everything your customer knows about you is from input from their five senses. It's what they see, hear, taste, touch, and smell that determines how much they love you. That's the message that we convey a lot. Thing that comes to my mind when I'm thinking about when you talk about art and production, is that team or is your team expert in knowing what the right colors are? Yes. And I'm going to throw some out, and I could be off base, but you talked about this being the smart billboard, sort of like a smart TV.
Yes.
Does the billboard know that the sun is shining at it? And because of that, there may be certain colors that won't reflect properly because of the sun. So they'll do different. I mean, that I'm just thinking is pretty advanced. But when you talk about this, what comes to my mind from a sensory standpoint, like that you would need to have certain colors when the sun is in a certain position at a certain billboard. And if it's a smart billboard, does it know that the sun is shining or that it's dark out? I mean, you know, probably at nighttime, there's a different protocol for what the art needs to be.
You know, there's a lot to unpack in that question, Les. But okay, so to start off with, we're very blessed at our plant, at our offices, to have an art director who exclusively dedicates himself to outdoor creative design. He has been with us for 20 years. That's all he does.
So he's an expert.
He's an expert.
He will know this.
And people do lean on him as to what colors work, what color contrast, what fonts work, what doesn't work. Because there's a lot of things that look great on a print ad that really doesn't translate well on an outdoor billboard or an outdoor digital billboard as well. There's certain background colors you want to stay away from. You know, so ultimately at the core of all this, the mantra I always repeat over and over again to a client that is completely new to this entire realm is big, bold, and to the point. You don't want to treat this like a print ad. The average commuter only has less than 6 seconds to notice and recognize and internalize your message. You want to get to the point. At the end of the day, you want to make them have a reason to look at your advertising copy twice. So it's a very quick little window that you have. And you don't want to waste that on too much verbiage because no one will ever read that. You want to stay simple, bold, and to the point. So it's a very, very straightforward but careful approach that you have to customize your ultimate, whether it's branding or call to action, your advertising message has to assimilate to the creative possibilities and limitations of what an outdoor billboard can provide.
I knew when I invited you on the show that I was getting an expert, and just from what you've said, you have not disappointed. And my guess would be that there are maybe people out there who are listening who would like to tap into that as well. So I'd like to give you the chance to promote yourself. How if someone's out there and they want to do some advertising, they want to get some billboard presence, how can they get a hold of you?
If they want to get a hold of me, the best way is call me at the front desk. Our main office line is 702-873-4600. My email address, my first initial and last name, and that is J as in Jim, B as in Victor, ILLELA, and very simple, at lamar.com, LAMAR. And that's pretty much it. I really take a great deal of pride in being able to be more than just their account rep, their account executive or their sales rep. it really has to it goes beyond that for me. And this is from the very beginning of my career. It was important for me not to be just a sales guy. It was important for me to be a connector, to be a bridge builder, to be that resource for my clients. If they reach out to me, I am very, very fortunate to have a large spectrum of wonderful marketing, advertising, and PR contacts here in this market and beyond. So whoever I can put them in contact with, whoever I can connect them with, that will further their business and marketing goals, that ultimately is my signature of success for how I work with my clients. And
that brings up an interesting point. I've heard you talk a lot about Las Vegas and your role here, but I've also heard you mention how Lamar is a national company. So if I wanted to do a national campaign, are these smart billboards able to manage that so that you can help me get my message nationally?
Yes. Lamar's been a company that has put a lot of thought into the spread of digital outdoor advertising.
So there you have it. If you want to do billboard advertising, don't think that my guest today, Jim Villela, is just available for your Las Vegas needs. He's actually available and ready for any of your national billboard needs anywhere where Lamar might be.
Oh, yeah. And I had a client call me yesterday and they said, hey, could you, I want you to be my account rep for a multiple market outdoor media buy. And so I'm in the process this afternoon of putting that together for that client who wants to tease a campaign about a commercial television spot that they're doing in February for a national TV campaign. And they want to utilize the outdoor billboards in multiple top markets here in this country, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Seattle, and all for the purpose of teasing a television campaign.
So there you have it. No matter where you are, if you need a billboard expert, Jim's the guy to call. I want to go back now to this smart billboard concept. You talked about the rain, the weather. We talked about where the sun is, lighting. Give us one more example of what this smart billboard technology can do.
I could give you several. It could. You can also incorporate it. I mean, we live right now in a social media dominant universe, so you can actually incorporate your Instagram, your Facebook, your Twitter feed. I've been really fortunate to work with one of the local television affiliates.
A company can have their Facebook or Instagram messaging
on the digital billboard. Yes, their photographs, their tweet, their Facebook post. They can actually incorporate that into their the component of their outdoor campaign.
I would never have thought of that.
Yeah.
I just don't even, I can't even grasp my head around that. I need to think about that for a second of what that means for a business that they could combine their efforts with Twitter. It's like they don't have to reinvent themselves depending on the medium.
Yes.
The mediums can all support.
They synergize together. Yes. Yes. They actually, there's connectivity capabilities there. I worked for the last 3 years with one of the local TV stations here in town. It's the local NBC affiliate, Channel 3. And what they do is they actually have the capability. It's a very unique authorization that they asked where they can download and upload their own creative designs to their digital billboards. And alongside that, they have provided a lot of their weather, their on-air talents, whether it's the weatherman for breaking news updates on weather, whether it's sports. Right now the Vegas Golden Knights are all the rage in Las Vegas. Whether it's breaking news updates.
That kind of reminds me, and I know what you're talking about. I have seen they'll be talking about the game that's going to be tonight.
Yes.
Or there'll be a congratulations message for the game that happened, say, last night.
Yes.
And I never thought about it, but that's exactly what you're talking about, is this ability to make that messaging absolutely current, absolutely relevant to what is going on right now.
And they can actually, on their nightly newscasts, encourage their viewers to provide them with photos of them being at the Vegas Golden Knights game, or some kind of breaking news update where there's flooding taking place in the valley, or perhaps there's been, they can snap a photo of themselves or at that moment, and they have the authorization to put that photo up on one of our digital billboard screens.
From what I'm hearing you saying is they could do that as well as put it on their Instagram at the same time, or put it on their Facebook, or put it onto whatever social media they want to integrate.
Yes.
And as you say, synergize with the message.
And please understand, there are filters put in place that only give this kind of authorization to certain select people, either within the TV station or at our company at Lamar. So nothing inappropriate.
So the privacy of people is protected as well.
Yes, exactly. So nothing inappropriate goes up.
I knew when we were going to meet today and talk about this that you were going to give us some great, interesting insight to the billboard industry, but I never imagined the kind of stuff you're talking about.
Yeah.
And when I think about, a sensational customer experience, this absolutely ties into that whole concept. Everything that your customer knows about you. In this case, it's really about what they see from those billboards.
Oh, yeah. And then the other aspect of it that goes to your previous question is there's also something called day parting. Day parting means you can actually have your creative message running from, say, 6 to 12 noon if you want to reach a certain morning commute audience, but then change out your creative messaging from 12 noon to 6, depending on rush hour traffic or on weekend traffic. The advertisers have a great deal of flexibility to actually customize their specific message to the commuter audience that is on the road at that given time.
So it's almost like being able to buy your television ad at a certain time. So you're talking about the rush hour. So I could be one of those rush hour people going home, say at 5 o'clock, and there's the message about a certain restaurant.
Yes.
And of course, that's when I'm hungry.
Yes.
And so I'll see that, and maybe that restaurant only wants their message on the billboard from 5 to 6 o'clock at night because they know that's when hungry people are going to be
Think of the average suburban mom or dad. And if you're a forward-thinking, smart advertiser who wants to capture that daily reality for thousands upon thousands of parents, or even just general commuters, you can actually put your message in front of them. So if you're a local grocery store and you are offering a special on rotisserie chicken or some kind of prepackaged meal, you put that message in front of them, voila, problem solved for what I'm going to feed my family tonight.
I never thought of a billboard being used that way before, where I could even specify right down to the time what I want. And I guess location too, because if my restaurant is in a certain neighborhood, that's where I want to have the message. Or if I have a store in a certain neighborhood, that's where I want to have the message. I don't want it on a billboard 20 minutes away on the other side of town. Or maybe I do, but it would have to fit into a package or a strategy of why I would want to do that. Wow, that's interesting.
And so when you talk to advertising clients on that real world level, put aside any of the stats and numbers and traffic counts. A lot of times we're approached to provide clients and agencies with those kind of numbers. At the end of the day, to me, in terms of how I've always approached my job and conveyed to clients the value and the benefit of this medium, that ultimately is something that you've got to make it relatable and connects to people's daily lives and reality, their experiences. It's not about stats and numbers of how many cars are going to be seen. Don't get me wrong, that's important in terms of how many digital 7-second spots are going to be seen on your digital board or be delivered on that digital board on a daily basis. But at the end of the day, it's about the benefit to the client.
Jim, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming in today to share all this. I just never dreamed it was going to be this in-depth, and I really appreciate your taking the time to share that. We've come to the point now where I want to wrap this up, but there's two things I always do at the end of every show. One of them is I ask a fun sensory question. It's something that has nothing to do with anything that you're in your business, but the question would be, I know you're from here in Las Vegas, and I'm curious to know what your favorite resort hotel property is on the Las Vegas Strip and why?
Oh, wow. I would have to say aesthetically, the Wynn Resort and Encore. I think it's just the attention to detail in that entire hotel is incredibly impressive, breathtakingly beautiful.
Well, thank you for that. And the other thing that we end up with in this part of the show is that segment, That Makes Sense to Me. And Jim, that's where I ask all of my guests to close out the show by giving a couple of tips or strategies that you recommend people do in order to achieve and accomplish their goals of delivering a sensational customer experience for their customers. So, Jim, give us a couple of tips or pointers.
Off the top of my head, I would have to say, ultimately, when it comes to advertising clients on a very, very basic level, I think one of the things that maybe even some high-ranking people, I'm talking about general managers, CEOs, vice presidents of marketing, head of ad agencies, ultimately, when it comes to this platform, the outdoor advertising world, don't ever confuse yourself with the daily reality of your customers. Ultimately, put yourself in your customer's shoes. What is relatable to them? What is ultimately going to make an impact and impression once they see your creative design on a billboard? It's not about you. It's about the audience you're trying to reach. Secondly to that, I would say I love working with clients that ultimately have a more comprehensive approach to marketing, because at the end of the day, it's really not about me making sure that I take the entire media buying pie for myself. It's about outdoor advertising, digital or static vinyl, working alongside all of your other marketing efforts. I want your billboard, your digital billboard, your posters, whatever you're doing, I want that to be working to supplement and complement every other thing you're doing out in the marketplace, whether it's social media, whether it's digital online, whether it's television commercial spots, whether it's your radio, remote live events. That ultimately is something that will ensure greater macro success and long-term success for all of your marketing efforts. I like working with clients that ultimately have a macro holistic approach to everything they're doing to reach their customers and stay in front of them. I think that's a smart way to approach this entire marketing endeavor in a very, very cluttered, ad crazy universe that we live in. You ultimately have to be their best consultant, independent of whatever platform you're selling yourself. That's the most important thing. Be your customer's best consultant.
See what you want your customer to see through their eyes,
yes.
Hear through their ears,
yes.
Taste through their taste buds.
Yeah.
So you're thinking about their
yes.
sensory experience.
Exactly.
Well, thank you. We've been here with Jim Villela, who is an expert extraordinaire when it comes to outdoor advertising. He works with Lamar Outdoor Advertising. And if you want to reach Jim and do some personal consulting with him and tap into some of the resources and knowledge that he has, he can be reached at area code 702-873-4600. That's 702-873-4600. You can email him at, and I'm going to spell this for you, it's J like Jim, V like Victor, ILLELA at Lamar, that's LAMAR.com. And I am certain that if you email him, he'll be getting back to you very quickly. And I really want to thank you, and I appreciate your time that you came down to share some of this insight with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And if you ever want me to come back to tackle some other aspects of this endlessly fascinating industry and media platform, I'll be happy to do that.
I will take that as a definite offer, and we will take you up on that. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
For free tips, resources, and information, visit SENSESationalCustomerExperiences.com, your premier experience brand brought to you by Training for Results, located in the sensory capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Until next time, remember, if you can sense it, your customers can too.